What's going on, everybody? Welcome to West Nale Virus. We're your hosts, Josiah and Caleb. Today, we have college football, NFL, MLB playoffs, and much more. Stay tuned as we cover it all here on West Nale Virus. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Josiah, how you been, man? It's been a long time. We started this, a year ago or so. Josiah, everyone just recently got married, so he put everything on pause, and now he is in a new room, new background, in the middle of nowhere. I've been out there, and I was terrified. So first off, congratulations.
New attic, everybody.
Congratulations, and
thank you.
I do want to say to everybody, this show is going to be going 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are going to be covering as much as we can, but primarily college football, college basketball, NFL, and then playoff sports when we get there, like basketball, baseball. Because I'm sorry, but I'm not keeping up with over 100 games in the baseball and basketball world. It's not going to happen.
Look, if you cover every game, in baseball or basketball, you might as well just go play on one of the teams. It would take less energy. I don't understand how someone can do that.
Probably. West Nile Virus is going to be just a fun show for you guys. It's a fun show with less negativity. Josiah and I are just sick and tired of so much negative stuff in the world, and especially when it comes to sports. Sports is supposed to be entertaining, where we laugh and smile. This is going to be that show for you, so you can laugh at us. I mean, just look at our name, West Nale Virus. I mean, it's a play on our last names, but there you go. That explains everything about the show. All right, let's get into. We're going to run through the MLB playoffs real quick because we're not going to debate about it a whole lot, and then we're going to get to college football. So last night, the Twins ended up losing to the Astros 9-1, and Houston now leads that series 2-1. Jordan Alvarez and Jose Abreu were raking. And then I believe it was Christian Javier was the pitcher. He looked amazing. That kid can pitch. The Twins need to figure out their pitching, and two, they need to figure out or they need to find their hitting. It disappeared. They were crushing home runs, and they're very inconsistent at the plate. And so they need to find that. And then also as well as not as well as, but Rangers, Orioles, as well as the Orioles, they're gone. So the Orioles couldn't find it. The 1 seed is done in the AL. Rangers win 7-1 and sweep the Orioles last night. Uvalde gets the win. The Rangers are built for the postseason. So the Rangers are going to do a lot of damage this year. And I don't think that. I mean, I think the Rangers and the Astros are the two best teams in baseball right now. And well, I mean, the Diamondbacks might have something to say about that. They're going to beat the Dodgers, but Astros and Rangers look really good. I'm excited to watch these two teams square off against each other. And then, Josiah, I wanted to bring up your Braves because they play tonight, and they had a huge comeback win to tie the series against the Philadelphia Phillies. And that was huge because if they didn't do that, I would say this series is over and that the Phillies are going to win. Being up 2-0, they would just need to win one more game. But the Braves, man, there's no quitting them. I'll tell you that.
It was an amazing comeback. Huge credit to Michael Harris Jr. for initiating that double play at the end. It was awesome.
Dumb base running by Bryce Harper.
It was pretty terrible, but I'm so happy he did it. But that being said, I did want to bring up one thing that I saw some people talking about online and wanted to get just a quick opinion on it. And more so, I want to get the fans' opinion on it. Anyone in the comments, let us know what you think about this. But I saw someone online talking about they don't think that it's actually an advantage for pro baseball teams to get a bye week when leading into the playoffs. So the top seed teams, they're saying, shouldn't get a bye week because these baseball teams are used to playing day in, day out, like multiple days in a row and stuff like that. So then you're just icing a team before the playoffs is what the argument was. And I don't know if it was a Braves fan or an Orioles fan or who it was
Definitely an Orioles
fan. Initiated that comment, but I'm glad the Braves were able to beat the ice. But I don't know. I thought that was an interesting take.
Yeah, I would say that it's probably true for hitters because if you're hot, you want to keep playing. You don't want to get out of that. I would say that is icing. But when it's pitching, when it comes to a pitcher, I wouldn't mind the days off. Rest my arm. So, I don't know how much I believe that. I would say there's something to it, especially if you're a hitter. But other than that, I mean, you're a professional. You get paid millions of dollars to play a game. You got to perform at a high level no matter when the game is. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, look, a little extra batting practice in between the games might help keep him warm. So maybe just do that. I don't know.
Exactly. There you figured it out. Dodgers, Diamondbacks play tomorrow. Dodgers are. Oh, excuse me. They play tonight. Tomorrow, if Dodgers win, Dodgers they're the 2 seed in the NL, but you expect a lot from the Dodgers. And I should say Mookie Betts doesn't perform well in the playoffs. But this Arizona team has come out of nowhere. And Carroll, if you guys are keeping up with him, Carroll is a rookie, and he's not playing like a rookie. This guy is a stud. I'm really excited for this Diamondbacks team. There's always one team in baseball that you can really get behind, these underdogs. And Arizona, watch out, man. I don't know if they can hang with Atlanta or Philly, but I don't think many people thought they could hang with the Dodgers. So we'll see how that goes. 3 baseball games tonight. Should be a lot of fun. All right, let's get into our college football talking points. First things first, Josiah, a couple games last night. Middle Tennessee State beat La Tech 31-23. If some people are coming over from Beware of Bulldogs, they will recognize the name Hank Bachmeier. Hank Bachmeier is a quarterback for La Tech, former quarterback at Boise. Wasn't doing too great, transferred, got his starting job taken away. Now he's at La Tech. They are now 3-5. And to be honest, they didn't look that great. I watched the highlights to that game. Subpar game. I mean, I love
lost by over a touchdown to Middle Tennessee State. What do you mean? What else are you going to say?
I will say that Middle Tennessee State team is not a bad team. They came into that game 1-5 on the record. But, I mean, they played well. They can play. But Hank Bachmeier got to step up. Then we had Liberty play Jacksonville State. Gamecocks, Liberty won 31-13, moved 6-0 on the season. And this is what I want to bring up here. Liberty moves to Conference USA this year. Their schedule is very weak. I believe they can go undefeated. Josiah, do you think this Liberty team could represent the G5 in a NY6 Bowl? Because we talk about Fresno State or Wyoming or a team from the Sun Belt or the American representing the G5, but this Liberty team, which is in Conference USA, not the strongest conference, could very likely go undefeated and represent. What do you think?
I mean, at this point, I only see one team that might even challenge this Liberty team. They're playing Middle Tennessee State, who they should destroy. Then they're playing Western Kentucky. I think that'll be their only challenging game.
Yeah.
The rest of their games are against La Tech, Old Dominion, UMass, and UTEP. They should sweep all those teams by multiple touchdowns. Western Kentucky is their only challenge.
And UMass all at home. So 4 out of their 6 games are all at home in this back half of the season.
Their only away games are Western Kentucky and UTEP. So Western Kentucky will be an interesting game to watch. If they win that one, they are going undefeated. And yes, I absolutely think that we'll see them in a New Year's Six Bowl.
They will have to win the Conference USA championship. But
against,
I don't know. What's that?
I said against.
Yeah, probably Western Kentucky. I don't know. It's going to be rough. I mean, the teams they played this year have been bad. They played FIU, Buffalo, New Mexico State, Bowling Green, Sam Houston, and Jacksonville State. Those are their 6 wins right now. You can't. It's hard to say that. It's hard to come out and say this is a good Liberty team because we're not sure. We don't know how they stack up against a good team. Now, they can score points, but I mean, I don't want to say that this team is better than a Fresno State or a Wyoming because or even like a Tulane because I don't believe they are, but who knows? They could
look,
represent.
They may not be better, but a 12-0 record,
I know.
That looks pretty good. I mean, it's hard to beat.
You can't. And you did your job. You play who was in front of you. You beat them. You did your job. And now go out and play for a New Year's Six Bowl. So good for Liberty.
Yeah.
It would just be frustrating from another G5 team's perspective to say, okay, we're going to have them represent, even though their conference is pretty poor. You played a really bad non-conference. Like they didn't play one Power 5 school, not one. And I would say they didn't.
Not just another group of 5.
Good group of 5 school.
Well, I was gonna say not just another group of 5 school. Fresno State, who had a very, very frustrating loss this past week.
Yes. Well, before we get to Fresno State, and we're going to talk about Fresno State, and I host a Fresno State podcast called Beware Bulldogs. I think most of the people listening to this come from there. We will talk a little bit of Fresno State here, but we'll go more in depth on Beware Bulldogs. But last but not least, Coastal Carolina App State played last night. 3-point win by Coastal. Grayson McCall is very good. I think both of these teams, Coastal and App State, not meeting expectations right now. Both are 3-3 on the season. The Sun Belt is tight this year, other than James Madison. And how good has James Madison been? My goodness, they just got called up to Division I FBS, and they are just taking care of business.
They are the feel-good story of all of college football. It's amazing.
Yeah, talk about a team that's undefeated and could represent the G5 in New Year's Six Bowl. James Madison.
That's who I'm cheering for.
Yeah. Now it's going to be tougher for them because some teams are pretty good. You have good teams in Georgia Southern, Marshall, Troy. There's good teams in this Sun Belt. So they have their work cut out for them, but very possible. But either way, App State, Coastal Carolina, still at the bottom of their division in the Sun Belt because Sun Belt hasn't got rid of divisions yet. Very disappointing, but Grayson McCall with a good team around him, I'm telling you, this guy can play. We know he could play because of what he did last year. Disappointing start to the season for Coastal Carolina team, but I think they're turning it around. So we'll see what happens. Anything that you would like to share, Josiah, on Sunbelt or Coastal or an App State? If not,
no, just that go James Madison. AKA go Bulldogs, and
this is a Bulldog con, by the way. This is Bulldog.
Yeah, this is all Bulldogs here. All Bulldogs. Georgia Bulldogs, Fresno State Bulldogs, and Who isn't a James Madison Bulldogs fan?
Right, especially this year. All right, let's talk about Fresno State. The question that we have proposed is, what does Fresno State need to do to take the next step? And as a Fresno State fan, this question intrigues me because year after year, we are told this is the team. This is the team at Fresno State to go undefeated, make a NY6 Bowl game. And we always seem to have one or two hiccups. I remember a couple years ago, we were in Hawaii with Jay Kaner, fourth round draft pick, backup at the Saints right now, or third string. Yeah, he's on PEDs, but I believe he took Derek Carr's P. Have you seen Derek Carr's arms? Holy cow. Anyways, they lose to Hawaii, and Hawaii should never lose. Then this year, we lose to a Wyoming team. Last year, we lose. Yeah, last year we lose to an Oregon State team at the buzzer when we shouldn't have never lost that game.
And USC, but that was...
Yeah, well, we had injuries that game. It's just really hard for me as a Fresno State fan to get really excited anymore because I just am waiting for the letdown. Let's just say that. We're waiting for the letdown now, and we call ourselves the Red Wave. So what does Fresno State need to do? Because we've seen Hawaii do it. They're in our conference with Colt Brennan. Yeah, they got smacked in the Sugar Bowl by your Georgia Bulldogs, but they've done it. We've seen Boise State do it multiple times. I'd love for Fresno State to be that team. You know, we've seen Cincinnati do it. We've had the teams to do it. We just always poop the bed, as I say, once a season, twice a season. That just can't happen. What does Fresno State need to do, Josiah, to take the next step? Because you do watch Fresno State Bulldogs.
Yes, I don't get to watch every single game, but I watch as many as I can. And I watch the highlights. But that being said, for me, there's two words that come to mind when it comes to what I think Fresno State needs to take the next step. And number one is recruits. They need more just high quality recruits. They need more players who can perform at the highest level for 4 quarters. That's what they need. Secondly is consistency. They need discipline. They need discipline. You can't go into a game against Hawaii and go, oh, this game's going to be easy, and then go and lose. Because right. Georgia, you see Georgia almost do that against Missouri last year, against Auburn this year. But they were able to pull it back in the end and win it. And in Alabama, you saw the same thing from them year after year after year. But they were disciplined enough to say, okay, guys, at halftime, if you don't go back out there and dominate for the next 2 quarters, then you guys are all running till you puke your guts out. Like, I don't know what it is that you've got to say to those guys at halftime, but Nick Saban knows how to do it. Kirby Smart knows how to do it. And Jeff Tedford's a good head coach. I think he's got to know how to do it. He's just got to make sure those boys know that they've got to play with discipline for all 4 quarters of any game. It doesn't matter because all these kids are good players. They're all out there trying to win. And if you lose focus, you lose discipline for 10 minutes of one game, it could cost you the season.
Yeah, I could agree with that. We all the games we lose, and granted, most teams are going to lose this way, is when we make really dumb decisions, have turnovers, and are really poor defensively. And especially this year, we should not be poor defensively. Yes, one of our starting corners is out. We've struggled, and we're struggling in some positions, but that's when your high quality players comes in. And I think we're getting there as a Fresno State program. Tedford, though, is starting to become a household name nationally. I should say a national name. So kids want to come play because he puts you in the NFL. He gets you ready. But that next step, I think, for the next high quality player is to win at a national level, because every year we get ranked, we get put on Fox or a national television network, and then we lose. And those are the games that you have to win, because now
you've got
those recruits that were watching us or thinking about committing to us, now they see how great Wyoming is and how poor we played. And that is not what we need.
No, well, and I'll say this. No, I do agree. I actually do think things in the recruit department are looking up for Fresno State. I think that Tedford has a chance. Watch the recruiting class very carefully this year, and most importantly, watch the transfer portal. Watch the transfer portal. Kids, the first place kids are going to go is, can I make money off NIL?
Well, that's the first thing. Be a struggle for Fresno.
That's going to be a struggle for Fresno State. So they're not going to get any of the best transfers. But those number 2s, you guys could get them. And getting all the number 2s, that's not that bad. You know who was a number 2? Alvin Kamara, Joe Burrow. Alvin Kamara wasn't really a number 2, but he just, they never used him. Joe Burrow was a number 2.
We got Mikey Keene, who was at UCF, started a year, then then got a spot taken. Jalen Gill, who was at Boston College. We're getting them. Now we just need them to perform at the level that we know they can, and that is a higher level than what they performed at, like at Wyoming. So it's going to be fun. I think, a lot of people say in the college football world, is it execution? Is it coaching? It's always both. And somebody has to take ownership of it, and the coach should take ownership of it. And, I'd like to see more of that from Tedford. We don't see Tedford a lot in the media. He doesn't like media. And when people say Tedford's old school, that dude is old school. He's so old school. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. And I think this year or this time period, you need to allow the cameras into the press room when you're into the meetings, when you're firing up your team, because that's what guys like now. That's what players want to see. So you want to get the best. You got to keep up with times. And I don't know if we're doing that. Not saying Tedford's a bad coach. He's a great coach, and he can do good things without doing that. But I think you want to take the next step. You have to adapt just a little bit. Let's go make a hype video and let's go see what Tedford's saying in the meetings. Well, let's go see how he's firing us up.
Here's what they got to do. Get Derek Carr in on recruiting. Get Derek Carr in on recruiting. Get Devontae Adams in on recruiting. Get Michael Walker in on recruiting. If you can get those 3 guys right there, stuff's looking good.
Yeah, and I know that
real good.
Coach Coyle, our defensive coordinator, he has Jadeveon Clowney on call. He was Jadeveon Clowney's coach, so he'll call Jadeveon Clowney. You want to talk to one of my products? Here you go, Jadeveon Clowney. That works, and we've talked to multiple guys on the D line to say, I'm here because I got to talk to Jadeveon Clowney, and Jethro Franklin is our D line coach. He played in the NFL. So our coaching staff is great.
He knows what he's doing. Yeah.
Now it's just, can Fresno State do these certain things to get to the next step? And that next step is NY6 Bowl. The goals at Fresno State are always to win a Mountain West championship. That's great. And, I hear it from the players, hear it from the coaching staff. I would love to hear, though, our goal is NY6 Bowl, because Alabama, Georgia, their goal is, to win an SEC championship. But the true goal, national champs. And if I'm a coach, my goal is to be a national champ. I don't care if you're G5, P5. You want to win every single game that is put in front of you and go win a national championship. So sometimes
that's the thing is, I had asked you before the Wyoming game. I said, all right, look, let's say Fresno State wins tonight. against Wyoming. If they did, and they went undefeated for the rest of the year, do you think they can make the playoff? And you said, I don't think they have a chance of making the playoff this year. But here's the thing. Definitely making
That was
the Year
two
6 Bowl if they win out.
scenarios based off of other teams.
Yes. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a 4-team playoff this year. It's going to be very competitive to get in. They're probably not going to let in a group of 5 school, just realistically. But
Right.
you go undefeated next year too? What are they going to do? They have to let you in. So, like, there's a certain point where it's like, yeah, should Fresno State have beat Wyoming? Honestly, probably.
Yes.
I mean, you lost by, 5 points?
Yeah.
You could have won that game.
Oh, they didn't
destroyed
score
in the second half. Yeah. Yeah, you did amazingly in the second half. In the first half, which I watched all of, defense did not look good. A lot of holes in that defense in the first half. Second half, airtight, dude. Airtight. You can just play like that all game. You guys win.
Yeah, and Caleb Pletz and I talked about that as well. You can't have that. You can't have that. And I talked about in-game adjustments. There needs to be an in-game adjustment. First quarter and second quarter. We can't wait till halftime to make adjustments. You got to make adjustments as the game is going on. But either way, I think Fresno State is knocking on the door as one of those G5 teams to be considered in a New Year's 6 Bowl. They're going to need some help this year if they want to get in that New Year's 6 Bowl. Heck, we're going to need help to get to the Mountain West Championship. Luckily, Wyoming and Air Force play each other this week. So there's the start of it. One of them has to lose. So as Josiah brings in the bad luck cat to the pod. All right. Let's move on. We are going to get to your Bulldogs right now, Josiah.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw Kentucky's coach, Mark Stoops, come out and say that Georgia is buying some pretty good players. They asked Kirby Smart about this. He said no reaction. All right, he had no reaction to it. We all know what the state of college football is, and that the best teams have good donors, have good NIL collectives, can do that. That is part of the game now. I don't see any problem with you buying players. And that comes from a G5 fan that can't buy players. Like we just physically, or it's not capable. We can't do it.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that?
Look, to me, it sucks. I hate that this is what college football is now. I don't like that it's okay. Who has the most money? We can keep winning. Like that's the whole thing now. But I can't do anything about it. That's what the NCAA decided. And that's how it is. So I'm not going to complain if my team goes out and buys some good players because everyone's trying to do it. I mean, if Fresno State could, they would, and they should. And like, you're trying to win. You're trying to win a national championship. So if you can buy some players to win a national championship, they're going to do it. Like,
yeah,
that's the whole point of the game.
Back to my point of the goal should be whatever you need to do to win a national championship. That's the goal.
Yeah.
You play to win. So, I mean, heck, Utah bought every scholarship player a truck. They gave them all a truck. I don't know if they're leasing it to them or what, but every scholarship player on Utah got a truck. Unbelievable. So, anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. But we're going to talk about what is going on in Tuscaloosa. So, to all our Alabama fans, Josiah proposed the question, has Alabama peaked? And it was interesting. It happens every year. I think even if they win and there's a little hiccup, I think people start asking themselves. Last year, everyone's asking. Now they've lost already. They lost to Texas. Josiah, you deal with Southern football more than I do. Do you think Alabama has peaked, or has everyone just caught up to them?
Well, honestly, there's two big things. Right now, they don't have the players they usually have. I don't think they have the quarterbacks they usually have. And I don't know. I think they're struggling a little bit in some ways that they don't usually, specifically offensively. I mean, the quarterback thing is the biggest thing to me.
Right.
I thought defensively their stats would show that they weren't doing as well. Technically, they're allowing less yards this year than they have in previous years.
So it's
that
all
being said, yeah, their problem is mostly on offense. That being said, though, I think one of the biggest issues that Alabama is going to be facing going forward is a similar thing to what you said with Tedford in terms of modernization, moving with the times. This NIL thing, Saban doesn't like it. Saban hates it. I don't know if that's because before, he could get money under the table and he knew what he was doing and he knew how to do it. And now it's like, oh, well, if anybody can do it, I don't have an advantage. Maybe that's it. Or maybe it's just that he was really good at recruiting. And now with NIL, it takes away some of that advantage at recruiting. I don't know what it is. I think it's obvious to me, though, based on the performance of Alabama the past 2 years and all the moaning and crying Saban has done about NIL and Texas A&M's recruiting classes, Georgia's recruiting classes. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like it because he's not good at it. He hasn't figured it out. If he can figure it out, Bama's going to be number 1 again, or number 2, because Georgia's my favorite. But but if he, I honestly think NIL is one of his biggest issues right now.
I totally agree with that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think the biggest problem for most schools and football programs is going to be what can we do to keep players? Because why should I sit at Alabama for 2-3 years and wait for my starting gig when I can go transfer somewhere, get some NIL money, may not be as much as Georgia or Alabama, but I'm going to get some money. I don't have to wait, and I get to start and put together film. I have nothing against that. And you can't argue. You can't keep a kid from doing that. And here's what I also think is, this is where Dion is going to have an advantage, is I've seen videos of Nick Saban at practice. The dude is tough. There's a reason they're number 1 and at the top of the food chain they're there for a reason. Nick Saban is a tough coach. He's a drill sergeant. That's not fun for an 18, 19-year-old. And then you look at and see what's happening at Colorado. They're building a program built on, I see that there's a lot of joy. The players want to be there. They like what's going on there. I would rather sit at Colorado because of that experience, play for Coach Prime, than rather sitting at Alabama and for a drill sergeant. That's a lot harder to do.
Well, and I mean, there is something to be said as well about, okay, sure, not all the best players are going to be the people that want to play for a drill sergeant, but the most dedicated ones are going to like that. They will like, hey, this guy's tough on us because he wants to win. I'm fine with that. So maybe eventually it'll pay off, or maybe all these players will go, dude, this is, we're moving away from this.
If you're not winning championships, it's going to hurt you. And I think that's why it's starting to hurt Bama, because it'll work at Georgia, because I think Kirby Smart is fun. I do think Saban's got a little bit of personality, but he just seems a little angry. But it's going to be easier for Kirby Smart to keep players. It's going to be easier for someone like a Coach Prime, Harbaugh. It's going to be easier for Harbaugh to keep players. Saban's just, Saban and Tedford are very much alike. They don't show a lot of their personality, if they have one. I'm not sure. I'm not in the meetings with them, but the players know they care about them, but it's going to be a little bit harder for them to keep players that are sitting when they can go other places.
Why would Travis Hunter go to Alabama and work his butt off every day and get yelled at for it when he could go to Colorado, work his butt off every day and get praised for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're going
So-
to get yelled at wherever you go, but I think it's
Well,
what's
sure,
happening.
yeah, but
What's happening around the program is more important. And when
Yeah.
you have coaches that have iron grip on the program and don't let anyone in or out, that's going to be really tough. You
Mhm.
see in Colorado, it could get to a point where it's a problem and a distraction, but they're letting people in and out, and guys are having a good time. They want to be there. They want that experience, and you're networking because football doesn't last forever. You get that network built. There's a lot of things outside of football that go on as well that kids want. So it's very interesting. I did want to bring this up, Josiah. I brought up the starting quarterbacks for Alabama over the past 10 years, because Alabama seems to have a problem with quarterbacks right now, but in the past they've been successful with quarterbacks, not in the NFL. There's only been one successful NFL Alabama, one successful quarterback from Alabama, and that's Jalen Hurts. And there's an argument, does he count? But
right.
over the past 10 years, you have AJ McCarron, national champion. You have Blake Sims, Jake Coker. You remember those names? And then after Coker, you had Jalen Hurts. He did start. Then Tua came in, took his spot, and Jalen Hurts transfers to Oklahoma. Then you have Mac Jones, national champion, and Bryce Young. And now you have, I don't even remember his name, Milroe. And they brought in Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame, who hasn't played yet. And we'll see. There's rumors that he may get the start. And I don't want to put any of this on Milroe. I think it's the OC. They have a new OC. They want to do some things different. Under their old OC, they threw the ball all around the field. I mean, Mac Jones and Tua, and they did a lot of things with Jalen Hurts, like RPO stuff. I think they played to their advantage. Yes. Does Milroe struggle throwing the ball around the field? I would say yes. He's not a Mac Jones. He's not a Tua, but you're not tricking anybody with that playbook over there in Bama. So they need to.
Well, that's the thing is, why'd they lose to Texas? Because Texas figured out their offense.
Right.
Texas figured out, they knew what Milroe was going to do. Like it's too transparent right now. I mean, look, maybe the new offensive coordinator will work out, or maybe this is, maybe Saban. I think swung and missed on this one.
Yeah, which would be a shocker. We haven't seen that, but
yeah, yes, no, I mean he is the wizard of freaking of O&D coordinators.
Yeah,
but
you would think, well, it might be because they have 5 stars walking all over that field. But that's what I'm really curious to see is, where does Alabama go from here if they finish out, because there's still a chance for Alabama to win the SEC West. They can still do it. Now, if they don't, which, by the way, I do think Alabama wins their division. If they win, what happens? Does Saban make a change at OC? Do they make a change at quarterback? It's going to be very interesting.
I think the biggest question is, it's not do they win the West? It's, do they win the West and then beat Georgia or Tennessee, I guess, for the SEC championship, and then go to the playoffs and win the national championship? Like, they're not out of it. They've lost one game, but they aren't out of it. Texas is a good team. It was a relatively quality loss. Like, they're not out of it. Alabama there is a route to the playoffs for them.
Right.
If they make it, maybe that new OC is fine. I don't know. It's up to Saban, but guy's a drill sergeant, as you said. He expects success.
Yeah. All right, we're going to preview one game for this weekend, and that is, in my opinion, the biggest game of the weekend. Oregon versus Washington in Washington. Now, Josiah, we've seen both of these quarterbacks for some time, Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix.
Yes.
I think that is a huge matchup and should be talked about. But I don't think that is the biggest matchup here. I love these two coaches, and I think this coaching matchup is the biggest matchup on the field. You could tell me what you think is the biggest matchup in a sec, but Dan Lanning, he has created a culture at Oregon where I think guys want to be. They want to win. They want to prove everybody wrong, whatever that is. I mean, I absolutely hate Oregon. I hope they lose every game. That's the hate. I am an Oregon hater, and I am not ashamed to say that. But I love Dan Lanning. It would be really hard for me to turn down Dan Lanning wherever he's at. I really like him. Then you have Kalen DeBoer,
Right.
offensive wizard and former Bulldog, by the way, Fresno State Bulldog. And he's a great guy. He has built a good culture at Washington. He had a good culture at Fresno State. And it's hard for people to stop their offense because he's so smart. It's going to be a lot of fun to see an offensive coach versus Dan Lanning, the defensive coach, and how this chess match concludes in the end. It's gonna be a lot of fun. That's my favorite matchup. But my goodness, Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. Are you kidding me? They've been on fire lately. What are you thinking about this game?
I feel like I've been saying this for 6 years now, but Bo Nix has to be 90 by now. First of all, I swear he's been in the league longer than Stetson Bennett. I don't know how he's still around. I know I'm wrong, but it just seems like he's been around forever. That being said, I absolutely love that matchup. I agree. Bo Nix has been on fire. Michael Penix Jr., I think, is a better quarterback, and I think that might make the difference. But that being said, yeah, I agree with you. The coaches, that's the matchup, man. I mean, Georgia misses Dan Lanning at D coordinator. I'm sure you guys, you love Tedford, but who wouldn't miss Kalen DeBoer being your coach?
Ryan Blood,
like
the OC.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's gonna be an amazing game. Watch for a shootout and hopefully, I know you hate Oregon, but I'd love to see just a defensive masterclass to offset Washington's high flying offensive core. But I'm excited to watch this game. It's going to be a great game. I am a huge Georgia fan. I have been all my life, and I would much rather watch this game than Georgia playing Vanderbilt this weekend.
Well, that was one of the things is that we have really good matchups in the Pac-12 this year. The Pac-12 is absolutely amazing. You guys know this. The SEC, the matchups are not fun this year. I mean, I think your top game, you have Arkansas playing Alabama, you have Texas A&M playing Tennessee. That's probably your biggest game this weekend. Maybe Auburn, LSU. But, I mean, in the Pac-12, there's big games every week. It's kind of like the two conferences flipped. Now it's going to be tougher for the Pac-12 to get eyes on because of the time zone. But back to Oregon, Washington. I believe that Oregon is the more balanced team. They have a better defense than Washington, and they have a very good offense that can do damage. But I'll say this, Washington's defense is good, and they are good enough to make stops against Oregon, and their offense is unbelievable. If you have not watched Michael Penix Jr., this guy makes throws that no one can make in the nation. If Michael Penix Jr. has a big game against Oregon, I believe he moves up to number 1 in the Heisman watch.
That's possible.
Caleb Williams is a freak. Some of the throws he made against Arizona were so good, and his wide receivers did not help him out. But Michael Penix Jr. puts balls in places that no one else does. Okay? He's just special that way. And
Yeah.
I should
Anyway,
the other thing I want to add is Bo Nix. He's been consistent this year, but it seems to happen just like Fresno State. Bo Nix seems to have one or two games throughout the season that he just is not himself. And is that this game? Does that happen against a Washington State team that is, not Washington State, a Washington team that is pretty good? The only defenses that Bo Nix has seen, here it is: Portland State, Texas Tech, Hawaii, Colorado, Stanford. Not the best defenses. Washington hasn't seen good defenses either. Don't get me wrong. They've seen Boise State, Tulsa, Michigan State, Cal, and Arizona. But when it comes to Oregon and Bo Nix, they should dominate everyone on their schedule up to this point. So it's going to be interesting. Both teams are coming off a bye.
what's your prediction?
All right, my prediction. Washington is 3-point favorite here, and they get those 3 points because they're playing at home. So no one knows where this game is going. I'm going to go Washington by 4. So I'm taking Washington here, and I'm going to take the -3 just because their offense is so good.
I want to disagree with you, but unfortunately I can't. I had already decided. I am taking Washington, and I think they're going to cover. So I think it'll be a really good game, and Oregon absolutely has a shot at this game. It would make more than enough sense if Oregon takes this game. But yes. And I will say this, in terms of the SEC versus Pac-12 matchups, watch out for the postseason. That'll be a very interesting lineup, because I'm sure there will be a couple of SEC Pac-12 matchups, and I'm very excited for that. That'll be very, very fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think the biggest storyline here is, can the Pac-12 get 2 teams in without cannibalizing themselves? So I think the winner of the Oregon-Washington game neither schedule is easy after this game. Both schedules are tough. But if the winner can go unscathed the rest of the way, they will be in no matter what. And then you have the other team, the one-loss team. If they meet again in the Pac-12 championship and the one-loss team wins, does the Pac-12 have 2 one-loss teams in the 4-team playoff? And then compared to the SEC, I think Georgia gets in no matter what, because I just don't think anyone can compete with them on their schedule. You have Ole Miss and a couple other teams that maybe are competitive, but I think they shouldn't be. Georgia should go undefeated and win the SEC championship. But can someone else sneak in? Can someone beat Georgia? And if someone beats Georgia, do you let a one-loss Georgia team into the playoff when you have 2, if this happens, 2 one-loss Pac-12 teams? You have a Big Ten champion like Michigan, and then you have a one-loss Ohio State team that lost to Michigan, and then let's say you Penn State, maybe they all tie. It's going to be unbelievable what happens. I'm very happy they're moving to 12 teams next year. Let's just put it that way. So who knows?
Dude, I am too. I am too, because I would be so frustrated. It's going to be an insane playoff decision this year, because it's not completely impossible that we end up with a 1-loss Oregon, 1-loss Washington, 1-loss Alabama, 1-loss Georgia, 1-loss Michigan,
1-loss
Big
Ohio
Ten
State,
champion, 1-loss Ohio State. Dude, we could end up with no undefeated teams, 1 loss on everybody, and then it's, what do we freaking do? We got to take okay, well, who's the champion, and who's the best champion, who beat the best champion? But it's
gonna be wild.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Now, it's also completely possible that Georgia wins out, Oregon wins out,
Oklahoma wins out.
Oklahoma wins out and Ohio State wins out, and it's like, oh well, there you go. There's our
Right.
playoff. But I'm hoping for the much more controversial. Except I still hope Georgia wins all their games.
Of course you do. All right, let's move on to NFL. The first thing is Justin Jefferson is out, Josiah. They're saying he's going to be out for about a month. The Vikings are off to a pretty terrible start, to say the least. They are 1-4.
Awful, terrible, horrible.
And Kirk Cousins is in his last year on his contract. I heard a lot of talk. I joined a Twitter space the other day just for the heck of it. I hardly ever do that. And of course, they're talking about Kirk Cousins and how he's a bad quarterback. I hear this every year, how bad Kirk Cousins is. I got to say, I enjoy Kirk Cousins. I would like Kirk Cousins on my team. They usually go to the playoffs. Their defense is trash. Kirk Cousins is one of the leaders in the NFL when it comes to pass yards. Yes, he has a good wide receiver core, but somebody's got to get them the ball. Kirk Cousins does that. He throws the ball all over the field. But with Justin Jefferson out, with Kirk Cousins being in his last contract year, what do you think is next for the Vikings?
I mean, look, we could be looking at the NFL's next poverty franchise. I'm sorry, Skull Nation. I don't want to say it. I like the Vikings, but it's well, I don't know. I don't dislike the Vikings. I do dislike some NFL teams, and the Vikings isn't one of them. But I like Kirk Cousins a lot. Justin Jefferson's an amazing player. I like him. There's a lot of good players on the Vikings, but with Justin Jefferson out for a month, you're already 1-4. We're looking at a pretty hard little area here. You have to play the 49ers. You have to play the Packers. It's not going to be easy. If they lose both of those games after the next month, that's 4 more games. Then they'll be what? Let's say they beat the Bears and beat the Falcons. They're going to be 3-6. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty bad record. They pretty much have to win out to have any chance at playoffs. And
I will say this about the Vikings is I'm not a believer in the Bears or the Packers. The Lions are going to win that division. The Lions are a solid team. So I'm going to disagree with you where I think the Vikings could beat the Packers, and I think they should beat the Packers because Jordan Love has struggled. They only lost to the Chiefs by 7. They only lost to the Chiefs by 7. So they can figure these things out. I mean, so I think they beat the Bears. You're not going to beat the 49ers. The 49ers are the best team in football right now. Then
I think they beat the Bears, lose to the 49ers. Who knows with the Falcons? That's a week-to-week thing.
The Falcons, we can talk about it right now. They got Van Jefferson. They gave up a 6th and 7th round pick for Van Jefferson from the Rams. I don't know if that makes them better. The Rams are just trying to get rid of wide receivers because they have so many. You have Nakua, you have Tutu Atwell, who was a 2nd round pick. You have Cooper Kupp. You got so many things going on at the wide receiver position for the Rams. They trade Van Jefferson to the Falcons. Falcons have actually been a surprising team to me. They're better than what I thought they would be, but I still think they need a year or two. The Vikings, the Vikings should compete for their division title every year, especially with Kirk Cousins. With Justin Jefferson now, I think you're going to get a lot of Jordan Addison, and Jordan Addison is a good player. You traded for Cam Akers, if you remember that. So you have Cam Akers and Alexander Madison. You have 2 good running backs that can get the job done. And Kirk Cousins, being in a contract year, has to perform well. So if he performs well, and if he performs like we know he can, then I think the Vikings are going to do a really good job. And let me just go through these games really quick. I don't see too many losses, to be honest, Josiah. Next, we have the Bears. Okay, then we have 49ers, which is a loss. I'm going to count the losses because I think most of these are wins. Packers, Falcons, Saints. Saints could struggle. They could struggle against the Saints a little bit, but the Saints are inconsistent. Broncos, Bears, Raiders, Bengals are down. Then I think you lose to the Lions. Then you have Packers and then Lions. Realistically, there's probably 4 or 5 losses in there, but for sure, 3. So they could lose 3 more games and they could finish, 500 or so? Right around 500.
Probably.
And I think that puts them second place in the NFC North because I don't trust Jordan Love. I don't trust the Packers defense. So, I think they're in an open spot. And if they can just survive this month without Justin Jefferson, they're going to be okay.
I agree, actually. They are a pretty good team. You've convinced me. No, I mean, I already thought they were a good team, but yeah, you are right. I think if they can survive this month, they're good. I think they probably just need to pick up one game that they shouldn't win on paper, and they'll be okay.
Right.
As long as they don't drop any dumb ones, it's just possible. That being said, on the Van Jefferson move, I actually do think it makes the Falcons better. The Falcons' top 2 receivers right now are number 2 is Kyle Pitts, tight end. Number 1 is Jonnu Smith, tight end. They need more receivers. Drake London is number 3. Number 4 is Bijan Robinson, the running back. There's one receiver in the top four receiving leaders on the Falcons team. I think the Falcons need.
It's okay, though. And here's my argument for that. I think that's okay because Kyle Pitts is an unbelievable athlete. We've been waiting for him to catch a pass. I don't even remember the last time Kyle Pitts caught a pass before this season. So I think the reason the tight ends are leading is because that's where they're going to run their passing game through. And Jonnu Smith is going to be a contributor of that, which is fine. And you can do that and win games running your passing offense through the tight ends, especially with Kyle Pitts. And I think with the threat of Drake London on the outside, I think that's okay. Drake London isn't going to burn you down the sideline, but he will win a jump ball. So I think it's okay. Van Jefferson, you're, thinking about it more and more. He could be a big difference when it comes to the short passing game. And if you're running plays of the tight end, that's what you're running, short passing game. And I think that's why we see Drake London not as high as the tight ends in receptions and yards. And so Van Jefferson, quicker guy, he's going to be successful running the short comeback, running an out route, running a slant. So do they use him though? We're going to find out. So, okay. I like it because I am happy for them to run their passing game through the tight ends. I think it's a great system. Run your passing game through the tight ends, but I do think Van Jefferson adds something that the Falcons aren't using very much right now. And look, Van Jefferson, the one year the Rams. Oh, the one year the Rams. The one year the Rams actually won the Super Bowl, Van Jefferson was 1,000-yard receiver, or almost 1,000-yard receiver. Like I think it was an 800-yard receiver.
Yeah, 800-yard receiver, but still pretty good. I think he's a good receiver. Is my point. I just don't think the Rams have used him as much because they have a lot of good receivers. And so I think the Falcons can use him. I think it does make them better. I don't know how much better, but I'm not too upset about losing a 6th-round pick for a 7th-round pick. At that point, past the 5th round, who cares?
Hey, man, Max Crosby, 6th round.
Well, I mean, Brock Purdy, 7th round, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. All right. it's going to be fun to watch. Last thing
The cat is
for
destroying my hand right now.
the last thing for the NFL is the Colts. Anthony Richardson has been injured. Gardner Minshew is coming in. Can the Colts compete in the AFC South without Anthony Richardson? I believe they can. I believe the AFC South is not a good division. Outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I still can't trust the Jacksonville Jaguars, but you have the Jaguars, the Colts, Texans, Titans. Josiah, can Gardner Minshew and the Colts compete in that division?
Yes, I think they can. Gardner Minshew is a good quarterback. I've been saying it for years. I think he deserved this. Honestly, I think he deserved the starting spot on the Eagles. Then they acquired Jalen Hurts, and I get why he's the starter. But I just didn't get why they didn't stick with Gardner Minshew. Like, Gardner Minshew was doing well. He was winning games. He was doing well as a starting quarterback. I like him as a starting quarterback. He's a good starting quarterback. I'm excited to see him get another chance with the Colts. Anthony Richardson was doing better than I expected him to, admittedly. But I think the Colts can win this division with or without Anthony Richardson, possibly. I think Gardner Minshew gives them equally as good of a chance as Anthony Richardson to win the division, and I think the Colts have a chance at this point. Now, the weird thing with the Colts, right, is, I mean, A, the whole quarterback thing, but then B, the whole Jonathan Taylor thing. Like, what's going on there? Guy hasn't played a game, and he just got $26 million guaranteed in a contract, and he hasn't played a game this season because he's been injured the whole time, and they signed him to a $40-something million contract with $26 million guaranteed. He's a good running back, but that's a lot of money for a running back that's not playing.
Yeah, they just want to make him happy. I think we were talking on the phone the other day, and they just got sick and tired of Jonathan Taylor asking about if he is asking for money. So, I mean, their second string running back got more carries than him right after he signed the deal, and he was eligible to play. I know he's injured, and they're working him slowly back in, but kind of weird. I do think, back to the quarterback deal, that the Colts playbook is going to shrink a little bit with Gardner Minshew. I think Anthony Richardson is more athletic than Gardner Minshew and poses more of a threat on the ground. However, Gardner Minshew can move. The guy is tough, and he should be able to do almost everything that Anthony Richardson can do. He doesn't have the arm Anthony Richardson has, but he is smart and very capable of winning football games. And in this division, I know it's weird. The Texans have surprised people. The Titans, they can't win a road game. They're 0-3 on the road. So I don't believe in the Titans this year. And then the Jaguars.
Nah, Titans are out this year.
Okay. And then the Jaguars, they're inconsistent in my view. So the Colts very much have an opportunity to win the AFC South and make the playoffs. And I think, depending on how long Anthony Richardson is out, Gardner Minshew can lead this team to the playoffs. I truly believe that. And you may think I'm crazy, but I believe it. Let's move on.
I don't think you're crazy. By the way, Anthony Richardson, if you hadn't heard, has a grade 3 AC joint sprain. I don't know what that means, but that's what he has.
He shouldn't be out for a season. He'll be back, but it's going to take a little bit for him to get back. All right, last thing, and then we'll get out of here. Thursday night football, we got a preview. Chiefs, Broncos. Mahomes has never lost to the Broncos. My question is to you, Josiah, can Russell Wilson put a good game together to beat Mahomes and the Chiefs for the first time in Mahomes' life or career, I should say?
Well, I think first we need to ask the question, can Russell Wilson put a good game together. That's the baseline we need to start out with. And I think to determine that, we look at his history since moving to the Broncos. And I think we can safely, based on his history, determine there is a approximately 0.05% chance that Russell Wilson puts together any game at all. It's possible he goes out on the field, throws the ball into the stands 40-ish times, and the game ends. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, I think he's a fraud at this point. He was good on the Seahawks. At this point, I think it was all Pete Carroll and Marshawn Lynch. I don't know what was going on. Doug Baldwin, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't Russell Wilson. It wasn't just Russell Wilson at the very least. He looked like a wizard when he was there, and since moving to the Broncos, he looks like almost the exact opposite. It's been, it's been a ride.
Let's ride, baby. Let's ride. Yeah, there's no shot. I
no, 100% no.
I'm not putting any money on the Broncos to win, to cover, nothing.
No,
I don't trust them. Mahomes has never lost to the Broncos. This is not a Broncos team that is going to beat the Chiefs. I don't understand why Russell Wilson does what he does. He's just kind of an odd dude, and more and more people are coming out saying, he had this office in Seattle. He didn't talk, like him and Marshawn didn't talk a whole lot. And those are two different people completely. But as a quarterback, you have to be able to relate to everyone. You are the leader. You're supposed to be if you're a quarterback. And he's an odd dude. It's hard to get behind him. And
you know who Russell Wilson reminds me of a little bit?
Tell me.
DJ Khaled.
Because he says weird things.
You ever seen? Yeah, it's just all the very odd sayings and mannerisms and everything. I've just never seen either of them act like a human being, and I think that's the main.
The red flags for me when it came to Russell Wilson, and I know, I'm sorry, Russ. There's like this. I'm kind of going at Russ as a person and not a football player. Don't want to do that, but I thought this is kind of funny. Russell Wilson, religious man, but his wife is out there putting up photos of her like almost nude. That does not scream to me leader and religious man. We're called the higher standard if you're that way, and you shouldn't let your wife post photos like that, in my opinion. And then he comes out and says certain things that go against those things. So right there, as a quarterback, as a leader, I'm getting different vibes from him. Like it, and look, it's not going to work on a football.
There's no two ways about it. Yeah, you're right. There's no two ways about it. Russell Wilson's just he's got a lot of conflicting personalities. I don't know what's going on with him. He's a weird dude, and since moving to the Broncos, he hasn't looked like a good quarterback. I'm not saying he isn't, and I'm not saying he is a weird dude, but to the public eye, he seems like a weird dude and a bad quarterback.
All right, so predictions for Thursday night.
Good luck, Russell Wilson. Predictions. Russell Wilson is going to go 12 for 34 for 127 yards, 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And the ending score of the game is going to be 24-3, and Patrick Mahomes is going to get sat at halftime.
24-3, and he's getting sat at halftime. That's quite a hot
34 to 3, and he's going to get sat at halftime. better. I don't know.
No, I think there's no chance that the Chiefs lose this game. I know Travis Kelce's beat up, but you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You never bet
Patrick
against
Mahomes
them.
and Travis Kelce could both be beat up, and they could go out on the fields by themselves, and they could beat the Broncos. That's not. It's the Broncos are terrible. They're really bad. They're really bad. I'm sorry, any Broncos fans that are watching this. Your team is horrible at football. They should move to another sport. It's not good. It's very bad.
Hey, they have the Nuggets. They have the Nuggets.
They've got there you go. There you go. Go watch basketball for a season and pray something happens on the football field that involves getting rid of Russell Wilson.
Oh man,
and
poor Russ.
Probably the rest of your team too. Except maybe actually some of your running backs look pretty good.
Yeah, I would say actually with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, it's a promising wide receiver core. So
yeah,
all right.
And then you think about it and you think, okay, well, if they've got a good wide receiver core and good running backs,
it's either got to be the O-line or the quarterback.
Yeah.
And it might be
the running and the running backs are doing well. So I'm just saying it's the quarterback. I'm sorry, Russell Wilson. You're not doing well, dude. Go back to Seattle. This isn't going well. Not a good relationship.
Right. We're going to get out of here. Remember, stay positive, laugh, smile. The last segment wasn't too positive for Broncos fans, but
I'm sorry.
Try to stay positive. And we will see you guys Friday. Thanks for tuning in. This is West Nile Virus. We'll talk to you later. Peace.